If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
Oh yeah! It's time for the Comic Book Kaiju Book of the Month. This month, we're going to be talking all about Eve. Mr. Marcus Seaberry picked it, so we are going to talk about it. Before we get into that, let's ask our good hosts and friends, Mr. Marcus Seaberry, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. What's up? What's up?
Excellent. And Mr. Chris Eaton, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Very well. I'm going to be talking all about our book of the month. So I am doing fantastic. And I want to let everybody know they can get our book of the month in our link down below. We have it in our show notes to let you know Eve is available right now wherever you get your comics. But if you get your comics digitally, and if you subscribe to Comixology Unlimited, this book is free $99. You can read it for no price, no cost to you. If you are a Kindle or Comixology reader, that is the best way to do it. So if anybody out there wants to check it out over at Kindle or Comixology. Now, Mr. Marcus Seaberry, I have a question for you, sir.
What up?
What world have we left our children?
Man, this seems a lot like the world we are going to leave the children. And I'm the guy who was literally talking to younger people like, hey, we screwed up. The environment's kind of crap. The earth's kind of trash. I'm sorry. Because that's all I got. I'm sorry.
Our bad.
Yeah. Our bad. Our bad infinity. So man, I like this guy, Victor LaSalle. He's a traditional novelist. That's what I like to say. I used to say real, but that's not fair to comics people. And he did this one book, kind of like a riff on Frankenstein, called Destroyer, where this woman kind of resurrected her son. I think he was a victim of police brutality.
Yes, I actually read that in preparation for this.
Yeah, I was meaning to get the trade because I think I missed a few when I was trying to buy a monthly. It kind of slipped on me. But I was like, all right, this dude dope, Plus, he a brother. I ain't going to lie, this spoke to, And then, and I was buying this one. And then, once again, I was like, okay, that's enough of this. Let me just get this in trade, man. I'm like, I ain't finna go through this every month. Because, I think I missed the issue or something.
Yeah.
And then, I had bought the trade when it came out, and I just kind of had it in reserve. I was like, son, my pretty son. And Marcus, it's your turn for book of the month. I was like, well, let me go and do E, because I've been meaning to read it, read the ones I'd read before and finish it. So, that was my motivation, man. Just, cool book and, nice, young black protagonist. I kind of, dig the woman protagonist. I'm a lot more receptive to that at 40 than say I was at 20. Like, no, girls.
Yeah,
that was like younger, dumber me. But 46, I was like, hey, let me read some stories with some, strong women protagonists. And I be thinking like, maybe I can show this to one of my nieces one day.
Nice. Yeah, and this book actually was, like you said, written by Victor LaSalle, art by Joe Mi Jung and Brittany Peer. And this one, the story is basically when the ice caps melt, most of humanity has lost to a hidden disease that was released. Now, a mysterious girl named Eve has awoken in secret and must deal with a world that's nothing like the virtual reality she was raised in. Mr. Chris Eaton, what did you think of Victor LaValle's Eve?
So, a lot of things. First of all, I got to say, I really loved the book. What really popped out to me, the writing is really smart. I love the color. Who's the colorist on this book?
Brittany Peer.
Give her a medal. It's fantastic work. The pencils are great. This is a creative team functioning at the highest level, in my opinion. I felt like, and this is not really a criticism, it's just you draw inspiration from the things you draw it from. I got a little bit of the Fallout franchise.
Ooh, yeah.
Games.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of Hunger Games feel, but not, I wouldn't say derivative, because I don't want to have a negative connotation. The stuffed bear that she carries around, which named
Wexler.
Wexler. Easily one of the best sidekicks, if you want to call it that, in comics that I've read in a long time. Maybe my favorite character, Wexler. I want more stories in this world. I want to see the broader world. This set up so much for me in a very economical amount of time. They don't waste a whole lot of time, but the world building is kind of baked in to the story itself, which is always good. You don't want to just have a ton of exposition here and then, for the sake of exposition. So I really felt like it was paced well. The world building is great to the point where, like I said, I want more stories in this world. I want to see how stuff got to where it is. I want to see what happens after this. I love everything about this.
And I got some good news from Mr. Chris Eaton. Seaberry, I'm sure you probably already know, there is a sequel to this book called Eve, Children of the Moon, dropping tomorrow as we record this. Tomorrow is New Comic Book Day.
Yes, that's fantastic. I didn't know this. This is great. I'm
Seaberry,
definitely going to be picking that up.
I was today years old when I learned that, sir.
Yeah.
Picking that up tomorrow for sure.
It is the same creative team, Victor LaValle and Joe Mi Jung. So they are back, and Eve's sister Eve is on the cover with Wexler. So it looks like it's going to be another adventure in this world. So we can cover that on another one.
Graphic novel? Was it like a individual issue?
This is an individual issue, so it looks like it's going to be another, maybe like a 5-part series.
Mini-series.
Yeah, this one, the one that we read, Eve, is a 5-part mini-series. So this one, it just says Eve, Children of the Moon, #1 is dropping tomorrow as we record this.
All right, I might have to. I was going to my local comic shop anyway, but in addition to the X-Men and Captain America Symbol of Truth, I'm gonna have to give me a little.
Yes,
Snake Eyes Comics in Knoxville. I'm coming to see y'all.
Nice, and this is a Boom Studios book. If we did not say that earlier, so I also enjoyed this book. Now, I felt like the ending was a little bit anticlimactic to me, and it was a little quick. I was up all through issues 1 through 4. I was like, yes, what's going to happen next? And then when it hit issue 5, that's when, to me, it just felt like it was almost like, actually, have you guys seen the finale of She-Hulk yet?
Yes.
The finale of She-Hulk, I had a similar thing where I felt like everything got wrapped up really quickly, and the whole show had been, building up these storylines, and then we never got to see the resolution. So it was like, okay, it's done.
It's kind of flat.
Yeah. So that's how this book felt to me as well. I loved the setup. I love the premise of it. These are right down my alley. Like anything that is sci-fi with artificial intelligence and end of the world apocalypse stuff. All of this is right in my wheelhouse. I love these type of stories. So it was already speaking to me when I first saw Wexler, saw that he was a bear. I got actually the AI movie with Haley Joel Osment, and he has a little Teddy sidekick. That's what it reminded me of. So also one of my favorite movies. But this was, like I said, right in that genre, like everything that's perfect for me. And like Seaberry said, I like that it's a black protagonist. I like that it's the job of saving the world is on a black protagonist and her family. So I like that, like everything else about it, but it just didn't, to me, I felt like the ending should have been maybe another issue, maybe a 6 issue instead of a 5 issue miniseries. That was the only complaint I had specifically with it. But I was, like I said, I was enthralled by the storytelling and the world building that was done. Like you, Chris, I want to see more in this world, and I'm happy to jump into this new Children of the Moon book that's coming out tomorrow. But Seaberry, what did you think about the art on this one? Jo Mi Jung. This is the first time I've seen her, his or her art. I'm sorry, I don't know the gender.
I believe that's a woman. Because
Okay.
I was looking at the pictures in the back. I was like, yeah, okay. I thought it was cool. I'm a guy who's read a whole lot of superhero stuff. So, I'm probably used to less realistic bodily dimensions.
Oh yeah.
But this was kind of cartoony to me, kind of like chill. It was just like, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like blown away per se by the humans, but like the landscapes, yes, all of that, all of the landscapes and backgrounds, and just again the world building, and I mean, I like the way the people look too, and like I don't know, either she got black friends or she or she just went to the internet and saw pictures of genuine black people. Like, they're like facial features. E's facial features are very ethnic.
Yeah.
And it was also some other little cool moments, like it was some hair braiding up in there, and I was like, yes, that's real. you know what I'm saying? Black
Yeah.
women take their hair very seriously. and that stuff felt real. It felt authentic, and I just dug all of that. Like I'm like I said, man, as I've gotten older, man, I be trying to appreciate, know what I'm saying? Not quite the type of artwork I would probably want on a splash page, but I was like, in terms of this book, I was like, it was perfect.
Yeah. Mr. Eaton, what'd you think about the twists of this book? Because there's a number of
There
cliffhangers
kind
and
of are.
twists.
Real
What did you
quick
think
though,
about it?
real quick, Marcus, to your point, um, what you're talking about there is representation, and uh, something that I don't think you can overemphasize nowadays. Representation is very important. Like, I go back to something that I mean, I always thought it was, but this really drove the point home for me. This this goes to a wrestling thing. So there's a wrestler named Kofi Kingston. And a few years ago at WrestleMania, he won the championship. Now he is from Ghana, West Africa, and he's the first African-born WWE champion. He goes back to Ghana. He presents a belt to the president of that country, and there you see these kids all swarming around him, and this one kid is like crying because it's somebody that looks like him that is this champion. And I said, that right there, I happened to be watching it with my wife. I said, that right there is why uh, that kind of thing matters. Representation matters. And so I was really glad that all that stuff did come through exactly like you were saying. I really appreciated that about the book. Now, to your question, Vactor, um, I think probably my favorite, like you said, there's multiple ones. I like the twist involving Wexler. I really do, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's so good. I want people to read it. The other twist that I think we're probably talking about, I kind of saw coming. But the one with Wexler, of course, I love Wexler anyway. but I really liked that twist, and it caught me. I did not see it coming. And so that's because I studied writing in college. If you can get me with a twist, you've done good work. Like, so hats off to that creative team, to that writer. But yeah, I love that, that whole not everything is as it seems. As a matter of fact, I would say that's probably the overarching thesis to the whole book is not everything is as it seems.
Right.
And that, because that pays off a few times. But yeah, the Wexler one is what got me.
Yeah. And I like, if you read in the back of some of the issues, Victor LaValle talks about some of his inspirations, and he did this also in Destroyer. I thought that was really good. Seaberry was talking about how that one, it's about the police brutality, black, the shooting of young black males, things like that. And he definitely seems very conscious and very he knows what's going on in the world, and bringing these things to a science fiction genre,
right?
Taking the real world and putting it into kind of our fictional world. But that's what all great science fiction does. Is
I was about to say that's what the best sci-fi and fantasy both do. Is they comment on sci-fi set in the future, comments on today. So does fantasy. So I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Seaberry, was there anything specifically that Victor LaValle did in here that made you want to read more of his work? Not only is he a novelist, but I noticed he's writing Sabretooth as well over at Marvel. So if you're interested, you can continue his comic journey over there. But is there anything in this book specifically that he was doing that kind of captured your attention as far as storytelling and made you want to read more?
Like I said, just like the way they look, the little stuff about the hair, like it just felt authentic. Like it felt black,
Yeah.
but like, I'm gonna say like black with a lowercase b maybe, as opposed to like uppercase b would be like Tyler Perry. Like that's like blackity black. But it was like, this is how this would go to maybe some people who don't have a lot of black friends or aren't familiar with black culture. Like, oh, there, and like I know it's a little thing, but there's like a reference to a Rihanna song at the end.
Oh yeah,
there is, and
I heard it in my head when I was reading.
I know. I was like, of course it is. You know what I'm saying? It just spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, of course, I am an old black comics fan, so I am capable of enjoying things not written specifically with me in mind. But it is nice to get this, well, I don't know if you remember back, but like back in the day when you lived in Memphis, I would yell out like, sometimes I just want to read people that look like me.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like right. It's just a real thing that I think everybody wants.
Yeah. And I remember that one time I was like, yeah, I want to read people that look like you too, Marcus.
Well, it's also,
frankly, we've had enough of me. Right. Like, honestly.
It's kind of crazy that we're in 2022 and it's not norm. Like the norm is not, oh, we have Riri Williams, we have Miles Morales, and we have Naomi, who we talked about on a previous book of the month. But there's just very few and far between characters of color in a lot of these books. And I'm not specifically talking black. It's, Asian, every race and creed on the earth that we don't have in our comics. So I would also like to see just more of this. This book probably deserves a wider audience. Coming from Boom Studios, this actually wasn't one that I had heard of before Seaberry suggested it. So
either
I'm glad that you put us onto it, Seaberry, and that you put our audience onto it. Hopefully they can come away from this book of the month and be a little uplifted, a little enlightened, and put Victor LaValle on the map here because, like I said, he's doing some great stuff with Destroyer. Like I said, I read and I really liked. Had a little bit of the same type of ending where it's pretty quick, but I enjoyed Destroyer just as much, and the parallels to the real world, like I said, with the crime, the police shooting, and the violence. Very interesting the way that it's told. So I'm actually very excited to check out this Eve Children of the Moon tomorrow and see what's going on over there.
And I gotta say, just on some being fair, the trend is, oh, this person writes novels or books over here, so let's, some companies seek out those people and like, oh, so if we give them a comic, then his fans will come. Yeah, but everybody doesn't get
it. It doesn't always translate.
Yeah, and like I'm gonna say his name. People gonna come at me with like, God bless every book Ta-Nehisi Coates has written. But let me tell you, what is not blessed. His Black Panther run. I'm sorry. I was like, how you boring in space, my dude?
I hate to say this, but you're not wrong.
I kept buying it. I held on. I was just like, he gonna figure it. I was like, oh, so you're not. That's just the way you're gonna write this. Okay, got it. But like I said, he is bred in several other realms. But like, it isn't an automatic like home run. So it's made me respect people like Victor LaValle, like Saladin Ahmed, who can jump from traditional novels to comics and get it. And hold their own. Not just hold their own, be just like really damn good. So like, I appreciate that, and I respect that those are two different worlds, and everybody cannot traverse between those two worlds at the same rate of success. So like, I just appreciate people also who ain't just like, well, okay, here's another paycheck. Look, I did a book with some funny men and and spandex fighting. Yeah. It's like no, respect this medium as well. And I feel like Victor LaValle does, and like I say, Saladin Ahmed does. Several people do, but it's not a guaranteed, home run or automatic hit. There is some work, and there's a different kind of set of tools and a different language for, each medium.
Yeah. Mr. Eaton, any parting shots before we close out?
I agree with everything Marcus just said, and I think it goes the other way around too. Somebody who writes comics might not necessarily be a great writer for a television show or showrunner. I hate to bring his name into it because I know how you feel about it, and I do too. But Brian K. Vaughan has not been as successful in television and things like that as he is fantastic at comics. So I think that skill set definitely it can go both ways, and not everybody gets this and vice versa. It's a difficult thing to do because it's a really different set of muscles, I think, if you're writing prose than if you're writing, a script, which is basically formatted kind of like a screenplay. So respect to anybody who can do both, and Victor LaValle definitely does it here.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to let everybody know, if you're interested in Destroyer, that is also available on Comixology Unlimited for free, Kindle and Comixology. So if you want to check that one out, as well as Eve, both are available for free. And Comixology Unlimited, I don't know if you guys know this, it's only like, I don't know, $5 a month. So it's not a bad way to get your comics if you're going to be reading digitally. So just want to let everybody know that is the way to go. You can get Eve over on Amazon. We have a link in our show notes if you want to purchase that. And next month, let's see, is November. I think it's my pick. I have not picked my pick of the month yet, but I will let you know on a future episode of the Comic Book Kaiju. Before we get out of here, Mr. Chris Eaton, why don't you tell all of our listeners about our sister podcast?
That's right. Our sister podcast with myself and Marcus Seaberry, the Kick Out Kaiju. We just did Mankind versus The Rock from the 1999 Royal Rumble. We commentate effectively, reminisce, tell awful jokes over wrestling matches from past, present. We haven't figured out the technology to do ones over future matches yet. We're working on it.
Does it involve the lithium crystals, or
it does, and at least 14 flux capacitors, all fluxing at the same time. But and I've only got 13. So we do that, and this coming week, as a birthday shout out to a friend of mine and listener of the show who will most likely be on the show at some point. We are going to be doing the very last match in ECW between Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, which is a 2 out of 3 falls match. So that'll be a real fun watch. You'll want to check it out. But yeah, Kick Out Kaiju. Every week we deliver the best in two dudes who like wrestling talking about how much they like wrestling while wrestling happens.
Yeah,
I agree. And I mean, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I think low key on some level it's like I'm trying to pop Eaton and Eaton trying to pop me, like of course
gravity ladders.
Yes, of course we want the listeners to enjoy too, but also it's like, I'm throwing out, one-liners, jokes, and pop culture references. It's like
in random German.
Yes. Farming but,
it's a great listen, and we'd love it if you would come along with us and become part of the Kaiju World Order.
Yeah.
Yes. Kaiju World Order.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you lovely listeners already know that Chris Eaton, Marcus Seaberry, and myself love comics, and you should too.
Geeks out.